There's a brutal truth nobody wants to hear. You don't truly know yourself until life puts you against the wall, until everything crumbles, until you're forced to look in the mirror when all the masks have fallen off. Today we're going to explore why your worst moments are, paradoxically, your best teachers, and why most people waste these most valuable lessons of life. Think about the moments that marked you the most. They weren't those of pure joy or easy success. They were the moments when you lost something important, when you were betrayed, when you failed publicly, when you found yourself alone, with no one to blame but yourself. These moments have a name, character laboratories, and they reveal three things about you that comfort could never show. First, they reveal who you really are when the fictions crumble. During good times, it's easy to deceive yourself about your own nature. You see yourself as brave when there's nothing to fear, as generous when you have abundance, as strong when there's no weight to carry. But when pressure arrives, when you lose your job, when a relationship ends, when health fails, all these constructed identities begin to crack. And what appears underneath? That's the question your worst moments answer with surgical precision. You discover whether you're truly resilient or just never been tested, whether you're genuinely trustworthy or just never had reason to betray, whether you possess inner strength or just never needed it. Pressure doesn't create who you are, it reveals. Second, they show what you're truly capable of. Here's an interesting paradox. Your limits only become visible when they're surpassed. You don't know how much you can endure until you're forced to endure more than you imagined possible. How many people discovered strength they didn't know they possessed only when there was no alternative? How many found courage they were unaware of only when fear was no longer an option? Your worst moments are like stress tests for your soul. They push you beyond your psychological comfort zone and reveal internal reserves you never suspected existed. The mother who works 3 jobs after her husband abandons the family didn't know she had that strength. The entrepreneur who rebuilds everything from scratch after bankruptcy didn't know he had that determination. They discovered because they were forced to discover. Third, they teach lessons that only pain can engrave on the soul. Wisdom has 2 origins, your own experience or your own pain. And pain is, by far, the most effective teacher. Why? Because it engraves lessons indelibly. When someone tells you certain people aren't trustworthy, you listen. When you discover this by being betrayed, you learn. The difference between listening and learning is the difference between theoretical knowledge and visceral wisdom. Your worst moments teach you about human nature in ways no book could. They show you that some people only appear when you're doing well, and others only appear when you're doing poorly. They reveal that certain achievements are empty, that certain fears are unfounded, that certain beliefs are illusions. These lessons hurt, but they're the only ones that truly transform who you are. But here's the problem. Most people waste these lessons. Instead of looking inward during the storm, they look outward searching for culprits. Instead of asking, "What is this teaching me?" they ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead of using pain as a fuel for growth, they use it as an excuse for stagnation. They treat their worst moments as unfortunate accidents, not as master classes in disguise. And thus they waste the most expensive investment life has made in their education. Don't be mistaken, your worst moments cost dearly. They cost time, money, relationships, opportunities. If you don't extract the lessons, you paid the price without receiving the product. It's like buying an expensive course and not attending the classes. So how can you better leverage these brutal teachers? First, stop resisting the lessons. When something bad happens, your first reaction is to try to escape the pain as quickly as possible. Alcohol, distractions, denial, blaming others. But pain is the signal that a lesson is being offered. If you escape too quickly, you miss the class. Second, ask the right questions. Instead of why me, ask what does this reveal about me? Instead of how can I escape, ask what do I need to learn? Instead of who's to blame, ask what's my responsibility here? Third, document the lessons. Write down what you discovered about yourself, about others, about life. Don't trust memory alone. The human mind has the terrible habit of forgetting painful lessons as soon as the pain passes. Fourth, apply the learning. Knowledge without application is just intellectual entertainment. Use what you learned about your limits, your weaknesses, your strengths to make better decisions going forward. The truth is, you can choose to see your worst moments as random tragedies or as expensive investments in your education. The interpretation you choose determines whether you grow or just survive. In the end, life doesn't owe you anything, but it offers you a complete education if you're willing to pay the price of tuition. And the price is exactly those moments you'd prefer to avoid. Your best teachers don't use blackboards, they use pressure. And the most valuable lessons don't come in books, they come in tears, in sleepless nights, in moments of complete solitude with your own choices. The question isn't whether you'll have worst moments, it's whether you'll waste the classes they offer. Because wasting these lessons isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a betrayal of the version of you that could emerge from the other side of the storm. And here's an even more uncomfortable truth. You've probably already had enough teachers to become a completely different person. How many difficult moments have you lived through? How many disappointments, losses, failures? Each one offered a masterclass about life, and the honest question is, how much did you really learn? Most people collect scars, but not wisdom. They accumulate painful experiences, but not transformation. They go through the same types of problems repeatedly because they never absorbed the lessons that could have prevented the repetition. It's like failing the same subject multiple times, not because the content is impossible, but because you never paid attention during class. And the most ironic part, the people who grew the most in life aren't those who had fewer problems. They're those who paid more attention to the problems they had. They transformed wounds into wisdom, trauma into strength, disappointment into discernment. You know this type of person. They have a depth in their gaze that can't be learned from books, a calm that doesn't come from privilege but from battle, a wisdom that isn't theoretical, it's visceral. They don't talk about resilience, they are resilience. The difference between you and them isn't in the amount of pain they faced, it's in the quality of attention they gave to the pain. Because in the end, your worst moments will happen anyway. You have no choice in that. But you have a choice in how you'll relate to them, whether you'll treat them as enemies or as teachers, whether you'll resist the lessons or embrace them. And this choice will determine not only who you become, but whether you become someone or remain just an older version of who you always were. The hammer will strike the anvil anyway. The question is, will you be forged by it or just bruised?